Hey beer tubers, it's Ryan back with another episode of San Diego Beer Vlog. Thanks for joining me. We'll be continuing with beers from the Lost Abbey. This is a beer that I've had a while, but just got around to putting it in my fridge. It's going to be Gift of the Magi. This is their winter seasonal release. A Christmas beer of sorts. It's a Bière de Garde Belgian strong ale. It's a 10% beer, and they actually use a little bit of frankincense and myrrh in this beer. I guess frankincense being a bark and myrrh being the root of the plant for it. They also bottled this one with Brettanomyces, the wild yeast strain. So I don't know. I believe this is the new 2010-2011 release. So I don't know how much Brett character this bottle will have on it, but pretty decent pop on there. Good amount of CO2 coming off as well. So this really isn't a beer I've had much of. I think I've just had a sampler when I was at the brewery of it. And that's about it. So no trouble with carbonation on this beer. That's just a big, mostly small bubbled, but with some medium-sized bubbles in there. It's actually a very clear beer. It's a little darker than like a typical golden ale. It's got a little bit of a orangish tint to it, but it's like a dark, kind of deep golden color. Good amount of carbonation coming off the bottom of the glass, as you expect with a Belgian style beer. Well, in this case, I believe Bière de Gardes are technically like the French side of the border in terms of being these kind of farmhouse ales. And at 10%, it's definitely a bigger beer for the style. Definitely the Belgian yeast character. That's the first thing you get on this beer. It's got a lot of like breadiness and a spiciness on there as well, but it's not a super strong nose. There is some sweetness coming up from there as well. There's probably some kind of crystal malts in here to kind of get it that darker golden color. So a little bit of an herbal note in there as well. I'm not sure if that's the frankincense or myrrh they're using, but yeah, herbal kind of earthy character on there as well. So it might be hops though. But yeah, I've only tried this one time and it was a small sample, so I'm ready to dig into a full 750 milliliter bottle of this. Cheers. Oh, that's different. Yeah, it's up front, a lot of carbonation comes through. You start getting that yeast character. You think, okay, this is like it's like a golden strong ale. But then you start to get some of the a little more malt sweetness in there, and then you get these kind of the spicy herbal character that might be that frankincense and myrrh in there. So once you get past all that character, the malt comes in, there's a nice sweetness to it. Sort of reminds me a little bit like of a barley wine, that kind of caramelly sweetness, but it doesn't go overly sweet on you. It's got that drier finish with the yeast strains used in this one. Especially that Brett will really dry out a beer. And then you get some alcohol in the end as well. But the alcohol is, it's very nice. It's a very like warming beer at 10%, a good winter beer. Even though at the same time it's also kind of very light and refreshing, because it does have that kind of golden ale character to it. But then there's just enough sweetness. It's almost like a golden ale barley wine kind of thing, but with really that yeast character. It doesn't drink as a big a beer as, say, the Stone's Old Guardian Belgo version. But this one's much more light, kind of more refreshing, kind of winter ale, winter warmer style of beer, but with all the Belgian characteristics. And at 10%, it hides the alcohol pretty well. The one thing I'm not getting is a lot of like funkiness to it from the Brett. Take a bottle of this, and if you let it age for like 6 months or so, just age at cellar temperature, don't put it in a refrigerator, that yeast in the bottle is still going to be active, the Brett's still going to be there, and it's going to start to develop more of that barnyard kind of funk character. which kind of fits also with the whole gift of the Magi and the whole nativity scene and kind of that theme they're going with for this beer. I'm not getting a whole lot of Brett character on this one, but I'm going to buy another bottle and cellar that one for a while and probably revisit it next winter time. That's definitely fading on this one. It's not sticking around except for the lacing it's leaving on the glass, but pretty impressed with this beer. I'm going to let it warm up a little bit and get back to you. Let this thing warm up a good bit more. Yeah, obviously the flavors start to come out and they start to intensify. The herbal spiciness of the beer really kind of gets elevated. Thankfully the malt sweetness doesn't go too much. It still remains very drinkable without going too cloyingly sweet on you. Overall, I'm going to give this one a B+. It's definitely above average beer, and it has some uniqueness to it. It just doesn't quite wow me like an 8 beer would do. I mean, it's definitely very well brewed. The flavors are pretty good. It is a little light. It's kind of weird because it's a really light beer for 10%. The mouth feels a little like low to medium body. So it is kind of a refreshing beer of sorts. But it was just kind of odd for kind of these winter warmer. This is kind of like their take on like a winter warmer style beer. But yeah, I mean, it's very well done. It's unique. Some of the elements they're using with the beer. But for my palate, it doesn't quite as spectacular as some of the other beers they brew there at the Lost Abbey. So that's going to wrap it up for Gift of the Magi. This is the latest winter release of this one. So until next time, please comment and subscribe. Cheers.